So let's now create the module. So we are going to create a user box module here. And before that, I want to tell you that why we want to use the module. So module is basically a way to encapsulate a piece of your code into a reusable and independent components. So like if you have a large and complex shiny application, then by breaking down into the smaller pieces and manageable pieces, you can able to manage it efficiently. So this will give you an edge to use the same component multiple times with different inputs. And also it will keep the UI and server very clean and modular. And it will be also very easier to test that particular component or particular module. So here you can see we have created a 2 UI output and their respective code is here. So for the 2 UI output, I have written this much code. And if I want to create 10 user box, then you can think of that it will take a lot of space. And that's where the module come into the play. So we will create a module and we will see how it will reduce your space, your time, your manageability, your testing. So let's see how you can create the module. So I'm going to create a new script and I'm going to save this page in a module folder as a user box module. User box module. Yeah. So you can go to the folder of modules and you can see here we have created one file and its name is user box module. So let's now write the code. So basically a sign-in module consists of two components. First component is a UI function and that defines the UI part of the module, and the second component is a server function that defines the server logic of the module. And these two functions were then called in your main app. So let's now write the code and see how we can create the module UI function. So I'm going to write the user box. I can write like this, user box module, and we can keep it capital. And here we will write the function, and within the function I will pass the ID, and here we are going to use the namespace. So namespace is basically it will create a namespace function. So what it does, it automatically add the module ID as a prefix to all the input and output ID. So in this way it will prevent the conflict when you use the same module multiple times. So I will show you how you can do that. So for the time being I am writing this as this. So I have passed this argument into the ns function. And then you can pass UI output, and within UI output you have to write the output ID. So here I am writing the output ID as a user box ID, and whenever you are creating a module it's very important to keep the ID within the ns. So it should be a namespace and you have to keep this ID in the namespace. So yes, that's it. So this was the module UI function. So now it's time to create a module server function. So for that I'm going to write copying this code, and here I think you can do one more thing, user box module UI, so that it differentiates between the UI and the server. So I'm copying this code here and then you can write server, and here you can write like function, and within the function you have to pass the ID as you are passing the UI, and then there is a function called module server, and within the module server you have to pass the ID again. And here you have to write the function, and within the function you have to write the input, output and session. So input, output and session. So this is the basic layout that you have to follow every time whenever you are creating a module. And within that shiny server, now you have to pass the code. So let me go to the server. I'm copying this code is here from here. So this output is not changed to this. So yes, that's it. So now you have to think how you can generalize this module. To generalize this module, you have to pass the argument within the function. So like you want to pass the data, you want to pass basically text that you want to pass. So you can pass the icons. So these things you can do. I am going to pass the first data, and then val 1, that's the value 1, and I'm also passing the icon. And pass the icon, and within the icon we can pass by default users as icon, and also we have to also pass this text. So these arguments should be passed while using this module. So I'm going to write this text here and data. So I'm going to remove this one. Or what we can do, instead of passing the data, we just pass the value. So we can remove the data so that so let's not complicate the whole things. So I can write directly the val1. So you can see in a user we are defined the UI output. In a server module we have defined the basically render UI, in which we have defined the description box. And here I have to change this to icon, so that the icon every time we can change while passing the argument. So that's it. This will work now. So now let's pass this UI module to the UI. So I'm going to UI, I'm going to pass this here, and we can give any ID. So ID that you are going to use here, you have to use the same ID in a server also. So here I'm going to write the same like box 1, and also you can write the W2 for more differentiating purpose. And then again go to the module, copy this user box server, and here at the top let me comment all this code. And paste it here, and we have to pass the same ID. So after comma, and then we can use the val1. So val1 basically we can use it here, and we can pass the argument. So how we can pass the argument? So we can copy this code and we can paste it here. So this is the value that I want to pass it on, and then we have a next argument as a text. So text that we can pass here states below WHO threshold, right? And so we have passed the ID, value1, and the text. Anything else is left. Also we can pass the icons. So as of now, let's keep the default one. So we have changed this user box module here, and the server we have passed the same user box module server, and we have passed the same ID in the both UI and the server. So let's now do it same for the second box. So I'm going to copy this, I'm pasting here, I'm removing this one and changing name to this, and I'm going to this again, and I can copy this whole and I can paste it here. And then again this one, the data that we're using for the second box, so we can keep the same, and we can pass the data here. So it was a below and it should be above. So right, and also we have to read this particular file in the global. So go to the global, and here we can read the module. So we have to get a function called source. Within a source you can pass the module. So here we are reading the module, so this function gets saved in the environment, and we can use the module for the UI and server purposes. So let's run this code. So yeah, one box is coming, but second box is missing. So let's see what's the error. So we don't have any error. So let's see what's the problem. I think, yeah, I got the problem because we have used the same ID for both. Yeah, it should be 2. And also we have to separate it. If you not mix the both, like here we can write box 1, then box 2. Again run the code. Perfect. So you can see, so instead of writing so much code like this, we have written only 4 lines of code and we have got the output. So this is how we are going to manage the complex app. And also if you want to test that particular module, you can also test that. So we will test the module in the later part of the video. So now you can see state above WHO threshold, state below WHO threshold. That's what we have passed. And here icon is not coming, like it's coming user. So let's see how you can resolve that. either you can do one more thing is that you can pass the icon as here. So okay, I think we have used the icon here. I think we can change this to icons, and I can like copy and paste here same. And if I run this code now, yeah, so it's coming perfect. So you can also always think of like how you can generalize more. So you can always pass the color of the text. So always pass the argument within this function. So let's now, beside the same user box, we are going to create one more user box. So let's see how we can do that. So for that, if you like copy whole code and paste it here, need this comma here, and instead of just 1 2 3, so I'm adding 3 and then 4. So this will not in a parallel. I think this will come in a series, like first user box at the top, then second user box. So let's see how it comes up. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So this is not coming because we have not defined anything in the server. And also we want this user box this side. So let's go to here. So let's now write fluid row, and within the fluid row you have to write the column, and within the column you have to write the width 6, and offset we can write 0, regular comma, and here you have to close this box here. So this one got closed, but this one has not got closed. So this will be in a second column. So I'm going to write here, then close the fluid row. It seems unexpected. Okay, so we have to write this like this, and let me see happen here. So what I have done, I have created a one more fluid row, and within the fluid row I have defined that we want this particular user box within this range of width. And again the second one we want this is within a range, and but beside the first user box. So let's now see how it comes up. Okay, some error is coming. So this one is for, okay, so there is one more bracket is missing. I think now it's complete, and this one closes somewhere. Okay, the body was closed, that's perfectly fine, and this one is closing the tab, that's also fine, and this one is closing the another tab, that's perfectly fine. This one must be closing the fluid room, perfectly fine. So now let's run this code. Perfect. So we got both cards here, right? So also you can change the color and the value boxes. So I'm going to change this color to some other color. So I can change this color to from olive to light blue if you want. Like light blue this. And we can keep this as a primary background. We can keep this as a info. So yeah, we have changed the color to blue. So let's now go to the server and see what we can show in that box. So I'm just copying the whole code here, and this will be our third box, and this will be our fourth box. And here is state WHO. So here I'm going to write NT because now I'm going to take the national value, and national value is basically 40. So as per the WHO, the standard value of PM 2.5 is 5. But as per the government, it is a 40. So the threshold is 40. So any state having the PM 2.5 concentration below 40, it considered to be safe for breathing. And if it is more than 40, then it considered to be not good for breathing. So I'm just changing to this to 40, and everything will be same. And here we can write like national threshold, and here we have to change to the for 3 and 4, and also NT, and I can replace this one with this, with this one with this. So let me run this code. Perfect. So you can see we got the WHO PM 2.5 concentration, And here, okay, so we can also rename the title. So for that, you have to go to the UI, and here you can write like Nationals PM 2.5 concentration. Yeah. So we got the two cards in which we have a 4 value boxes, and you can see it's coming out fantastic. So we can, like we can change the theme, we can change the color. We will do that later part of the video. So as of now, we have successfully created the user box module. We have created the user box module UI, user box module server. So we have seen how you can use the module server, and that's working perfectly fine.